And we are live. Shadowley Brothers. I'm Fuzzy Dunlop Skates, and this is The Morning Red Pill, Episode 2. When all your friends are cucks, I'm sure you guys can relate to this. And even if you can't, this is something I can relate to. This is no longer the case because I no longer have many friends, if any. Good morning, Yorn. Yorn for sure, stopping by again. First soldier in the box, third day in a row. And yeah, this is kind of a short story today about how and why I burned some of the bridges that I burned. We'll see. We'll see how. I don't want to go longer than an hour. Checking the view duration. A lot of people tune out after 10 minutes. So, I'm going to go longer than 10 minutes, but we'll see. Half an hour to an hour, depending on what I have to talk about. But let's hit the ground running with a story. So there's a series on Netflix, Leftflix. It's finished now, but it's a series I really liked. It's called Lilyhammer. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Yorn. You can put it in the comments. And if you have, I'd like to know. I know it's a different country from where you are, but I'd like to know if there are any similarities between Scandinavian lifestyle, if you've seen the show. So basically, this show is about a mafia hitman that relocates through witness protection program to Lillehammer, Norway, because he figures that nobody is going to come looking for him there. So this guy is full of testosterone and he does everything like way of the gun type of shit. And he gets to Norway and he finds out that it's super fucking socialist and people there are just giant pussies. So he tries to. Yeah, I don't blame you for not watching Netflix. Okay, but it's a really good show. Check it out, Lilyhammer. If if you ever watch series. So this guy, he gets to Lilyhammer and he realizes that everything is government red tape. And he used to be a bar owner. So and a bunch of other, shady shit. He was a fixer for the mob. So he had a lot of money that he brought with him, off the book, so to speak. So he goes to find out what he needs to do to open a bar in Norway. And he goes to see the job guy or whatever. And the job guy wants to put him through some fucking immigration naturalization program and basically put him to the back of the fucking welfare line. And they have to find work for him. And the only work that's available is like pizza delivery driver or like snow shoveler. It's some bullshit job. Fucking this guy, he's like, I don't know, he's in his 60s probably. So yeah, I don't blame him for not wanting to do that shit. And anyway, he has the money, so he just tries to open a bar, and the guy doesn't let him. And then he tries to bribe the official, and the official will not take his bribe, and his bribe gets rebuffed with extreme prejudice. So the official this way kind of has some dirt on him, like, you better do what I say, otherwise I'm going to tell on you, and you're going to show up to the fucking job training immigration naturalization program tomorrow, and you're going to go through all the motions, and you're going to like it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So the main character, Johnny, he fucking suffers through it, and a bunch of other shit happens. But towards the end of the first or the second episode, he basically stumbles by accident onto a cabin in the woods that belongs to that fucking job guy. And he finds a bunch of pictures there of the job guy with a bunch of like underage foreign women having like crazy sex parties. And he would like blackmail these young foreigners into basically, being his fucking concubines for the promise of helping them find employment or whatever. So our main character, Johnny, he figures all this out. He finds those pictures and he's nicely equipped to frame up and extort and blackmail this fucking commie motherfucker to his heart's content. So I really like this series. And every episode, especially in the beginning, there's something that our main character needs to get done. There's an obstacle in his way. And then he He either gets some dirt on the person or helps the person out of a jam. But before he helps them, he stipulates very explicitly that they're going to have to help him in return. Otherwise, he's going to kind of leave them to die there. And it always works out in his favor. And, this was not me, but I wished it could be me naturally. I used to have a big problem saying no to anybody. It didn't even matter how wrong I knew what they were asking was. I had to say yes to everybody. I don't know why. Indoctrination, I guess that's how I was brought up. These are just excuses, but anyway, I've snapped out of it now. It's been a couple of years, thankfully, but this was right after I had learned to say no. And right when I was learning that all these imaginary rules in life and regulations and red tape are nothing but exactly that, just imaginary rules, regulations, and red tape. So when Lilyhammer came out, I was doing snow removal in a tractor, and this was my first season doing snow removal. And I was working for a very small company, and it was a ragtag operation, and it was very disorganized, but I did my best, and I really liked it. And I was working with one of my friends. One of my friends got me the job at the time. Steve the retard. So yeah, shout out to Steve the retard. You're banned from this channel because you're a fucking idiot and you keep shooting yourself in the foot. And I can only help you if you're willing to help yourself. So you have no voice on this channel anymore. You can listen though, if you want. But frankly, I don't really give a fuck. So you'll either get better or you won't. Like such is life. But there's no more intervention. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. People trying too hard to support those that are unwilling to support themselves. So, this job, I digress. Back to my story about snow removal in Lilyhammer. This job clearing snow. I had two choices, and it was driving a tractor, clearing snow in residential driveways. It was pretty fun actually. There are lots of things that were not fun about it, but that's not really the point of the story. The point is, I really liked it, and I had two choices for salary. I could get paid an hourly rate, or I could get paid a weekly rate, regardless of how often or rarely I worked. So the status quo, I choose my words very carefully here. The status quo, naturally, is to pick a weekly rate because then you get paid even if you don't work. And, even if you get paid by the hour and you only get paid when you work, you could work a shitload at the beginning of the winter, but you're not going to get that money every week. And then you would have to save money. So it's way easier, to have a fish brought to you, every week. So what were the pay choices, by the way? Well, getting paid by the hour, it was $20. Getting paid by the week, it was $250 a week. So the premise was that while you're starting out at this job, you won't be as fast as the other drivers. And a lot of the time, it's going to take another driver to help you finish your route. So during this period, you'll be getting $250 a week. Once you're able to complete your route by yourself, you'll be getting $300 a week. And once you're able to help out someone else to complete his route, then you get a whopping $350 a week. So all these scenarios are fucking pretty bad, but I already had a kind of secondary source of income, which had been my primary source of income up to that point. But I just wanted to couple it with something else to make more money and have a bit more financial stability. So I chose to get paid weekly, just like everybody else did. And my first week on the job, my first day, it was okay. But it was very hectic because I had around 100 houses and they were all over the place. And I didn't have a map or anything like that. I had an alphabetical listing. There was around 7 pages long of all the addresses to which I needed to go. And when houses are marked for snow removal, they have pickets on either side of the driveway made out of rebar, usually with a brightly colored sheath over the rebar with the company's name on it. So the drivers can see which houses belong to their route, because you might have 100 or 200 houses that you have to clear. You can't memorize all the addresses, or you can't even see the addresses. So for this particular company, 3/4 of my houses had no pickets, and he would just send me text messages about the addresses, and it was just a fucking clusterfuck. But I learned everything by heart in a very short time, actually, and it wasn't that bad, despite the owner's disorganization. Sad story about that. The next year, I did not go back because I found a full-time job, because this guy doesn't employ anyone in the summer. It's just for the winter. And, well, he employs a few people, but it's for bullshit stuff, and I didn't want to do that. So I found something full-time, and I didn't go back. And it was only slackers that stayed. And then he lost 3/4 of all his customers. And I went back the next year, but he couldn't pay me. He could only pay me like $200 a week. And, he expected me to be out there like fucking 15 hours in a row every time it snowed. So I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. So I left. But back to the first year. So I learned how to do my route very quickly. And my first week on the job, I worked 4 or 5 days, and they were 12 to 16-hour days. It was pretty long. And I was only getting $250 a week. So after, your first day on a job like this, you pretty much earn your weekly salary, but you're only getting like, between $20 and $30, depending on how many days you work. So you could drive a tractor for 12 to 14 hours and only make 20 or 30 bucks. Like, isn't that disgusting? Fuck. And anyway, my choice, right? And I wanted to make the best of the situation. So I was on the call. Basically, you get a text message whenever it snows, and he says jump, and you say how high, and every week you get $250. Yeah, so it really sucks. So I was watching this show in my downtime, because always looking for things to do just to kind of pass the time for an hour or two in between potential shifts when you can't really relax. So I stumbled upon the show, Lilyhammer. And the guy in the show, he gets whatever he wants because he finds the person's weakness and he extorts them just right. So I didn't even need to find the person's weakness. I had worked at this place for around 2 weeks, and I talked to my friend about how little we got paid. And my friend had worked there 5 years, by the way. And he had worked there 5 years, and he was only getting $300 a week. And I'd worked there about 10 days, and I was getting $250 a week. And I felt that it was way too little compared to what we were doing and what we had to do. So he agreed with me. And he says, this is the pivotal part. This is when all your friends are cucks. And this is, you have a choice here. But he says, yeah, it's too bad that there's nothing you can do about it. And that's life. And nothing grates on me more than those words. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Or you can't fight City Hall. Man, I'm a fucking idiot. And I represented myself twice in court, and I won both fucking times. And the first time I was guilty, fuck. And the third time, I did something and I got caught, and I, almost had to go to court, but I didn't. And I would have represented myself a third time too. Same fucking shit, man. You absolutely can fight City Hall. And anyway, I'll tell the story about that in another video, because it's good and it can be helpful. Like, fucking camera is key. Like, if you get footage of your stuff anyway. So he says, too bad there's nothing you can ever do about it. And we're just stuck in this shitty situation, doing a lot of work for no money. And it's going to be like this the rest of our lives, because that's life. So fuck you. Fuck you, man. Speak for yourself. So, watching Lilyhammer, watching my man Johnny fucking get what he wants. And I told myself, there's no way fucking Johnny would fucking subject himself to doing what I'm doing right now. There's no way this fucking mafia fixer would fucking drive this piece of shit tractor for fucking pennies on the dollar and have to take shits outside, in the middle of the night because no bathrooms are open. Like, there's no way he would do that. And if he would do that, like, he better be getting paid fucking really handsomely for it. So I'm always checking the weather because if you're kind of smart, you check the weather when you do this job so you can sort of plan your life a little bit. But my retard friend never checks the weather. He just waits for the boss to call and call and call and call and call. And Steve the retard always had a problem getting up. Not even getting up early, getting up at any time. The boss would call him sometimes 42 times for him to get up. And, I, on the other hand, I had worked there, a couple of weeks, and I was asking the boss if I could show up to the yard and start my route an hour earlier because I wanted to make sure I would finish on time. And I didn't want anyone else to have to help me. And I wanted to do better because I wanted to make more money, but I wanted to learn how to do the job. And all the time when I would get there early, the boss was supposed to unlock the gate for me. He never unlocked the fence. So I had to, but I didn't sit in my truck like a fucking retard until he got there. I would climb the 10-foot tall fence and then I would start all the tractors. And if they wouldn't start, I'd plug in the block heaters and switch them around and shit and start all the tractors. And then I would clear that side of the yard behind the locked fence. And then if the boss still hadn't shown up, I'd call him and tell him everything I had done and saying that I'm ready to go. And then, he'd apologize because he was still sleeping or whatever. And then he'd show up, he'd unlock the gate, and then I'd be the first one out. Meanwhile, Steve's fucking not answering the phone for like fucking 3 hours straight. So I'm going to come back to this later. So I decided that enough was enough and that the money really, really, really was not enough. And, people are always afraid to lose jobs because they're not up to date yet in terms of pay, for one thing, or they're worried about like the reference or something like that. Like, and guys, like if this is the case, like your employer is nothing more than a slave master. And the only reason you should care about what the slave master tells the other slave masters about how good a slave you are is if you plan on leaving this slave master for another slave master. You should be planning to leave the slave master and earning your freedom. Become your own fucking master. Like, fuck, man. Like, these people, like, they do not care about you and the guarantees that they gave you, the pension that they gave you, just like the prenuptial agreement can get tossed out in court. This won't even make it to court. You can get canned and get nothing, and that's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what they promised you. Oh, no, not at my job. Yeah, at your job. Why? Why are you so sure of your security? Because even though relying on others is not sustainable, you're certain that you've chosen the right others to rely on, and you're smarter than the other people. Yeah, fuck, man. It's just a matter of time or a matter of fucking choice if and when your employer decides to pull the rug out from under you, whether you're not productive enough or you're too productive and he's not able to pay you what you're worth. Anyway, just tread carefully. So I also, I let these things stop me in the past. I was a good little soldier simp. I did everything they told me to do, and I was always fucking last because of it in every way. And again, I'll talk about that in another video because I don't have enough time to get into the personal fucking rain cloud that I felt was following me from 20 to 30 years old. So that's a subject, those 10 years I'll cover some other time. But yeah, so we're at this job and it's not a question of, well, it kind of is, but, give me more money right now or I quit. I knew if I manipulated certain factors that I could have my way most likely. And then I learned also that day to accept both outcomes and to be prepared for both outcomes. So my plan was this. I had been checking the weather and I knew that there was a big snowstorm a 3-day long snowstorm on its way that night. And my plan was to wait for the call to arms. And then when the boss would tell me that we're going out at such and such a time, I would just say no. Not even, oh, I want more money. Just no. No, I'm not doing it. And wait for him to respond. Wait for him to ask why not. And, then when he'd ask why not, I'd tell him it's because you expect me to do too much for too little. And I've proven myself in the short time that I've been here. And I'm the first one here and the last one out. And I set everything up for everyone and I clean everything up for everyone. And that's certainly worth $350 a week. And if it's not, then find another driver tonight and for the rest of the winter because I'm done, and that was it. And I didn't have a secondary plan, but I felt good about that plan. And, standing up for myself and for what I felt I was worth. And it's not even a lot of money, but it was enough to pay basically 1 month's rent for me in 1 week. So, my rent was $375 and I was making $350 and I had my other source of income, which would give me around $200 a week. So it wasn't that bad. But before it was just a slap in the face getting $250 a week to have to work that hard. So what I did with this plan, I called my friend about 6 hours before the snow was supposed to start. And I told him that, there's a storm coming and we don't make enough money. And I'm going to ask for more money today. And so should you, if you want. We don't have to do any collective bargaining, but I'm just letting you know. And the main reason I'm calling you is that if the boss refuses to give me more money, I'm not going in anymore. And if I don't go in anymore, the first thing the boss is going to do is call you. And he's going to tell you that, these are desperate times and it's not his fault, but Greg left and you're going to have to do not only your job today, but Greg's job. And then I said, then is the time for you to ask not only for the same raise I was asking for, so $100 more a week, but you ask for double your salary because you're going to be doing 2 jobs, so you can get $700 a week if you want. You can go from getting $300 a week for the past 5 years to getting $700 a week, just like that. So he says no, he doesn't want to rock the boat. And I said, well, look, man, like if you'd rather suffer than rock the boat, like that's fine, but don't think that you're doing the right thing. Don't think that what you're doing is somehow righteous. You're just being fucking stupid. If you really don't care about the money, then that's one thing and you're doing the job for fun. But I happen to know that your mom is paying your rent. His mom still is paying his rent 5 years later. If you're watching this, shame on you. And his mom fucking bought him a car that she pays for. And she pays for the gas for the car too. And he has 2 bastard kids with 2 different baby mamas that fucking give him false hopes of getting back together. And they call him up to stay over when they go out with their stupid fucking friends. And they make him stay with the baby and sleep on the floor. And even if he's working, they call him up to come over. And he says, I'm working, I'm busy, I can't. And they say, if you love your kid, you're going to come over right now. And then he gets guilt tripped into going over. I've tried to talk this guy out of these things so many times because he's come to me. He said, what do I do? And I say, tell her to fuck off. He says, no, I can't do that. You don't understand. All right, whatever, fuck. I don't understand. I'm not the one that went from virginity to fatherhood literally overnight at 30 years old. So, I mean, I understand a few things. I can definitely at least show you what not to do. But this retard repeated the same mistake twice. So whatever, good on him. And no, we don't hang out anymore, in case anyone watching this was wondering. So I informed him of my plan. He told me not to do it. And I said, why not? And he says, just don't do it. And he says, because, this is life. And in life, you have to be poor. And only the boss makes money. And, we're poor and we're stupid and blah, blah, blah. We're victims and nothing's ever going to change. And I said, okay, whatever, fuck you. And I hung up on him. And when the boss called me to go in, I told him exactly what I told you guys that I was going to tell him. And he asked me how much I wanted. And I told him $350 a week. And he said, done. And that was it. And the rest of the season was really fun. And so I called Steve the retard right back to tell him that I was going in that night. And he says, good, good, good. He says, I knew you would do the right thing. And I said, I did do the right thing. Thank you. And he says, yeah, yeah. He says, I knew that you wouldn't rock the boat. And he says, anyway, he says, I knew you wouldn't ask for more money. He says, because you'd be too scared and it's wrong. And he says, anyway, he's like, you think you're worth 350, but you're not. He says, 250 is generous a week. I said, well, fuck you, man. And second of all, I'm getting 350 a week now. So suck a dick. And I planned it. I planned my work. I worked my plan and I got what I wanted. I even fucking told you what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, and how if it didn't work for me, you could capitalize on it and get twice as much as what I was asking, which would have been more than twice as much as what you're getting now. But no, you were too fucking smart and you knew better. And you would rather not only not try and make less, but fucking convince me that I'm as bad as you. Fuck you. How could I fucking hang out with you? So after, as soon as, so he says, what? He says, you got the raise? I said, yeah. I said, I'm getting fucking 350 now. So he says, you're getting more than me. And I said, yep. And he says, that's not fair. I said, it's perfectly fair. I said, I earned it. I mentioned it to the boss. I said, look, you're paying me this much and I feel that I'm working this much worth. And he said, okay, that's fair. And he gave it to me. And I said, you're just fucking sitting there complaining after 5 years, pontificating about how life's not fair. And like, you wonder like why you never got a raise. And I said, also, the boss had to call you 43 times the other fucking day. Meanwhile, I'm in there an hour and a half early every day, jumping over the fence because the boss isn't there to fucking unlock it and, basically doing everything for everyone. So I asked him, I said, who would you rather give a raise to if you were the boss? The fucking guy that's there first and last out every day or the deadbeat retard that can't even fucking show up? So he goes, that's a good question. I said, no, it's not a good question. It's a stupid question with a fucking obvious answer. So he says, yeah, but I'm always late for every job and a lot of days I don't show up. But all my other bosses, they say, Steve comes late, but he works just as good as the guys that come on time. So, Greg, if you were hiring people, you should hire people that show up late because they'll do a better job. Like, what a fucking retard. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, first of all, if you show up late, you're goddamn right. You're going to have to work fucking 10 times as fucking hard to redeem yourselves in my fucking eyes because you're a fucking idiot. Like, you showed up late. Unless it's like really not your fault, unless like you get fucking sideswiped from the side or T-boned or something like that and you end up in the hospital, like, it is your fucking fault. I have no fucking sympathy for you. Okay? And any subscribers know around a month ago, I was up in a tree and I cut my fucking elbow open and I was 30 feet up in the air and I had to get stitches afterwards. And when I cut myself open with a pole saw that was hanging in a tree and it got kicked out of place and it spun at me. It cut the inside of my elbow and then it got wrapped around my climbing rope. So I tried to come down from the tree, lowering myself on the rope, and I could not because everything was tangled up and I couldn't get any slack in the rope. So just more and more blood kept coming out. And anyway, I managed to kick the saw free and unravel the rope beneath me and, rappel to the fucking ground 30 feet below, covered in blood. I had blood all over my pants, all over my fucking shirt, all over my fucking head. I almost washed myself in the pool, but I didn't want it dirty it up too much, so I washed myself under the hose. And, the family came outside and asked if I was all right. I said, yeah. I said, I'm just going to gather my things and go home and finish tomorrow if that's okay with you, or maybe the day after because I have to go to the hospital. So they insisted on calling an ambulance, but I said there was no need and that, I was going to call my dad. He was going to help me pick up my tools. And then I was going to drive myself home, put them away, and then drive myself to the hospital. And that's what I did. And I picked up my tools. My dad came. He gave me a hand. Then I went home. I hung out with Mark a little bit. We went to go do an estimate. I was all covered in blood, but it was on the way. And then, thanks, Mark, he stayed with me at the hospital for, about 4 hours until I got my stitches. And yeah, that wasn't before work. That was at work, but the whole world didn't fucking stop. And I almost died But big deal, man. It fucking happens. And, anything short of that, like if you're late, 99% of the time, just because people don't fucking get up on time. And like you don't get up on time, it's not because like they're up late, like fucking at the gym or fucking, I don't know, doing something productive. They're always fucking getting shit faced or just fucking up late watching TV or on Facebook doing nothing. So, no, I have no fucking sympathy that you missed your alarm or that like you shut off your fucking 10 alarms because you know you're going to sleep in. Like, don't you want to get up? Don't you want to do shit? Is your life that shitty that you would rather fucking stay in bed all day, every day? Or are you so entitled that you think you struggle more than anyone else ever has or could possibly understand that you just deserve to sleep all the time? Like, fuck you. And that's how this guy felt. And after I told this guy that I was getting more money than him, basically, his response was to stamp his feet and throw his toys out of the fucking baby carriage or out the pram, as Milo says, and say, well, that's not fair because I was here for 5 years and he can't give you money and not give it to me. And I'm going to call him and say that you can't do that. And if Greg gets this, I want just as much as Greg. And I said, well, that wouldn't be a great idea. And you can tell I'm still this guy's fucking friend at this point because I'm actually telling him not to do it because the fucking boss was a church pastor and like he values like right and wrong and morality and all that stuff like that. And, getting a raise like through your own hard work is one thing, but like piggybacking on someone else behind their back, like, a man of God, like, should not fucking respect that. And yeah, he didn't understand and he didn't ask for a raise. Or maybe he did, but it was like way later and he worded it way wrong and he didn't fucking get it because he didn't fucking deserve it. And, you know, like that's it. That's the fucking end of the story. And it's because of fucking Lilyhammer. And Lilyhammer fucking it fucking helped me fucking pull the trigger. And that series will always be dear to me. I think season 1 is the best, but they made 3 seasons of it. Seasons 2 and 3 were good also, but one was the best. Highly recommended. And the other thing I want to talk about today, well, a couple of things. One of them, starting a business. I'm a big advocate of this, but if you're thinking of this, no matter what your friends have told you, I don't advise starting a business for your friends or for anything that you think your friends will be your customer base for. I mean, you can, and you can prove me wrong, but in my experience, this has never worked. And you can check, man, there are memes about this. Not that that makes it true, but it's kind of almost universal knowledge that, when you start something for yourself, you're going to hear nothing but criticism from the people around you. At most, you might hear words of encouragement, but I don't give a fuck about words. Actions speak louder than words. Even if you're not buying my product, just share or click like, and people can't. They cannot do that or they will not do that. They can share something else, but they can't or they won't share whatever you ask to share, whatever you post on Facebook or whatever you make for your friends. Like it's really hard for them because they're fucking retards. You'll see. They become retarded as soon as you decide to start a business. Oh yeah, okay. I know a story I wanted to tell. I forgot about this one. So years ago, I started a clothing company called Bridge Burners MFG. Kind of like Bridge Burners TV. Fancy that, huh? And this, I was thinking of this for a while, and I was thinking of the name for a while. You can pretty much figure out the reason, but the story behind the name goes further than just the adjective. But again, that's a talk for another video. So I have a lot of videos pending in the future. So I started my company And this is the company, the clothing company. Follow me on Instagram at Fuzzy Dunlop Skates, by the way. If you're afraid of doxing, then you're a big pussy. But if you are afraid of doxing, you can still follow me. I'll have no idea who you are. You don't have to be like, oh, it's so and so, one of your subscribers. Just fucking follow me, and then I'll follow you back if you have any shit on your Instagram and it's actually cool. Like people are afraid to reveal who they are, as if people are gonna know. It's like even when Spider-Man took off his mask and people are like, "Oh, you're Peter Parker." It's like, dude, you're not Peter Parker. You're fucking nobody. And if you are somebody, good. Like, what's up with this fucking hiding our identities and our opinions and everything? We're right. The majority are wrong. So how are we going to get our opinions out there if we keep them in secret, anonymously? And we rub our hands together in the corner in the dark and we say, oh, well, we know the answer, but we're not telling them. It's going to be funny. Why? That's not fucking funny. That's fucking stupid. Like, boy. So, oh, yeah. Okay. So, my clothing company. So, yeah. So, on Instagram, I have a lot of the shirts that I made, but I took a lot of them off because there's, well, let's call it the skate park rapist debacle, which happened about 2 years ago. And was it 2 years ago or last year? I don't know. I think it was last year. Last year, one of my friends at the time, not my friend anymore, he was wearing a skate park rapist t-shirt that I made. And some guys took a picture of it because they thought it was funny. And the guy that took a picture of it was a sponsored skateboarder, and he put the picture on Instagram, and it got a lot of likes. But then some SJW bitch decided to flag it, who has like 21,000 followers, and all she does is flag people that she doesn't like, and then she sicks her followers on them. And I got a lot of bad press because of this, but I don't really care about that. I got a little bit of good press also, but one guy connected with me, and he just wanted to make money off me. It was pretty obvious from the get-go, but he liked my fucking logo, which was the Pepe logo sitting in the chair. And I had a t-shirt of it already. I mean, I still do. And he was telling me that if I redo it, and that's I think 4 or 5 colors on that shirt. So it's 4 or 5 different screens, which I'll make a video about that and I'll explain how I make my t-shirts, but it's quite involved, but it's a lot of fun. But the more colors, the more complicated it is. And they're all drawn by hand. Because that's the way I'm comfortable doing it. I've used what the fuck's it called? I've used heat transfer, which I don't like. I did that back in the day. And then I used photo emulsion liquid, which is basically where you print your image off of a computer on a transparent sheet. It's called an acetate sheet, which is a clear plastic sheet. And then you put it under a bright light, and you have to soak your screen in this photo emulsion liquid. And the nice thing about that is that you can copy extremely detailed things without having to draw them. But I don't like it. I don't like it because it's very easy for things to go wrong. The liquid never fucking goes on like it's supposed to go on. It takes a fucking long time to put the liquid on. Like I don't know. For me, I'm better off fucking just drawing it. And I can't even fucking draw. But I mean, I drew the Pepe now that you see talking. Like, well, I drew. Anyway, yeah. I I traced it over something else, but whatever. It's my own. And that's how I'd make my t-shirts. So I had the Pepe shirt was like fucking 5 screens. It was a lot of work. And I made a shirt, Skate Park Rapist, and that was one of my classics. And I would make things like that. And when I started making stuff, I wanted to sponsor some skateboarders to grow my company. This is a common practice. So you give away some free shit, and then you film some tricks for them, and then you tag your fucking brand in it, and then it gets some exposure, especially if your stuff is nice. And all my stuff was fucking nice and it was all cool. And it was all unapologetic. Like, not for little kids, not for fucking parents, just for the right fucking demographic. I never left that like 14-year-old skate rat demographic. I still think like that. Bathroom humor for life. So I had my little brand and I had a couple of people that, I had, flowed a few products to. And one of them started a board company. And our deal was that we were going to trade boards for fucking clothes. And before I talk about how it ended, I'll talk about a few hiccups along the way. So I gave him and another guy like a shitload of fucking stuff. Like a shitload. Like I gave them maybe, I don't know, like 5 to 10 t-shirts each, like zip hoodies, like full kit, fuck. I mailed it to them even in a box. Yeah, just like the fucking real skate companies do. And this guy, he wanted me to do the t-shirts for his board company. So he decided to call it one thing, and I made a screen for that one first name. And then after I made the screen, he changed it to something else. And he wanted a 2-color design, so I made 2 screens for the new name. Then he called me saying that he changed it to something else. And the next day, he had an Instagram picture about a whole bunch of t-shirts that he got printed for himself. And he was already advertising like the other guy's company that printed it for him. So he just decided to stop doing business with me just like that. And either a bit before, and his excuse was that it was quote unquote too hard for me. And it was too hard for me to make the stuff for him, even though I never complained. I did everything he asked, even all the times he changed the name of his company. I did everything, but still, it was too hard for me. He decided. And he says that he met a friend from high school, like happenstance, that gave him a good deal. And it was like, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, I just started a skate company. Oh, cool. I started a print company. I can make shirts for you. And he's like, oh, cool. Let's do it. And the next day it was done. So apparently that's the story. And in the meantime, he just said, fuck Greg for no reason. And either a bit before or a bit after, I don't fucking remember, probably a bit before, but we had worked out a deal, which was 3 t-shirts per skateboard. So if I'd give him 3 t-shirts, I would get a skateboard, a deck. And like, that's a generous deal on my part because they cost about the same in the store. It's fucked up, man. Like a t-shirt's like fucking $40, but even a $20 t-shirt, like the ones I was selling. And these were nice, man. These are like several colors with fucking crazy cool logos. A lot of them glowed in the dark. And again, no one would fucking have the balls to like print the shit that I would print. Like it's a real shame. So I gave this guy a shitload of t-shirts, and then a few weeks later, he brings me 8 skateboards. And it's good because I'd given him like fucking 30 t-shirts. So 3 shirts per board, 8 boards. Yeah, you still owe me like 2 skateboards, but that's a good start. So he brings me the boards, and he's like wearing the shirts, and he gave them away and everything like that. And he brings me the boards, and he's on his way out. And he's like, yeah, okay. He's like, just give me $40 a board. So $320. And he like leaves, fuck. Like before I can even answer. Like, yo, man, $40 a board. Yo, that's market price. Like if I buy those boards in the skate shop, like a fucking shitty like blank skateboard, it's $40 a board. So what a nice guy, fuck. Selling your friend your fucking product for fucking $40, fuck. Awesome. Like so great, fuck. Like that's wow, what a fucking stand-up guy. And it's just like, man, when he told me this, it's not even a question for me. of, oh, give me my money for the t-shirts. Like, yo, take your fucking boards back and like fuck off. And I didn't even have time to like tell him to take the boards back. Oh, he just lost a viewer. Maybe that was him watching. Yeah, if you're wondering, yeah, well, we don't hang out today. Yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons. Fuck. Yeah, so as soon as that happened, it's like, yeah, fuck you. Because what am I supposed to do? Fuck. Like, I'm supposed to reward that sort of behavior. That's the biggest slap in the face. So I'm just pulling up a page here. So there's a little delay between words, but I'm still here. I'm just looking for something. Ah, okay. Found it. Yeah, so that's that. That concluded our business together. So why would I want to do business with someone like that? And someone that, doesn't want to do business with me, someone that's shit on my business, someone that has physically taken my product and then, refused to acknowledge their end of the fucking bargain. And I don't know why. I don't know why this fucking happened. I didn't do anything. I know that at one point I got a message or a couple of messages saying that my brand was not tame enough and that they wanted to start marketing towards little kids so they would distance themselves from me. But this was after the bridges were already burned, and it kind of went without saying. Hey, Forest Arrow MGTOW, what's up, man? Just talking about failed businesses that were based around the business of friends in the past. And it's funny because this all happened years ago, but I have a business now. It's fairly successful. And now is the busy, not busy. Now it's a slow time, winter and first snow, especially because people are scrambling around, getting their winter tires put on late and trying to clear the snow off all the fucking shit that it fell on that they left out in their backyard, myself included. So they don't have time really to think about trimming their trees. But in a little bit or sporadically, I get the odd customer that needs a tree taken down or that needs a couple of big branches over a house that have fallen or that are about to fall, that needs those type of things removed. And luckily they pay fairly well. So even though I might only get one or two jobs a week, they pay really well. So it's enough to sustain yourself for a while. So it's cool. Working in the winter, I mean in the summer I work more, but it's so goddamn hot. Like, oh, I work for myself, dude. It's actually nice working in the winter if I can get jobs, as long as it's not too snowy. But we did a job last Friday, and it snowed around 10 centimeters when we did it. I didn't film it, but I was in a really bad mood because a lot of things went wrong on that job. And on that job, this is a good story too. I'll probably end it with this one, but on that job, we had two trees to trim, and each tree was around 100 feet tall. And one tree belonged to one lady, and the other tree belonged to her next door neighbor, and they were right next to each other. Now, each tree was next to the homeowner's house and had several little branches, nothing really big or crazy, but each tree had several branches growing into the walls, or towards the walls, I should say, and hanging over the roof. And, the customers were worried that in a rain, snow, or ice storm, because yes, we do have ice storms here occasionally, the branches would break and fall and damage their home. So they wanted to remove the trees completely. So they asked me how much it would cost. And I told them to remove that tree completely. it would cost almost $3,000 per tree. It's a very big job. But both trees were healthy. And as I told the customer, there's no need to remove the tree completely. You should just do a standard trimming of the lower 25 feet, and that'll get rid of all the branches that are growing towards your house, all the branches that might pose a threat in the future. And if we get everything, then all the branches that are going to grow from now on are going to be way above your house, and you're going to be safe from pretty much most natural disasters. So they said, how much would that cost? So I say, if you want me to take down the whole tree, $3,000. If you want me to trim the tree up to 30 feet and get rid of all the problem branches, I said $300. So she said, for the neighbor, I said $300 each. So she said, can you give me a deal? I said, I'll give you each $50 off, if we do the job in the same day. So she says, okay, done. I'm going to talk to my neighbor, but I'm sure he's going to agree. So she goes and she talks to the neighbor, and the neighbor agrees. But she calls me back and she asks me if I'm insured. And I say, yeah. And she says, okay, because the neighbor says to ask if you're insured. And I said, yeah, I am. So she says, okay, maybe you could show it to me. I said, yeah, it's not how it works. And she says, how does it work? I said, if I fuck anything up that I can't pay for, the insurance pays for it. And if I get hurt on the job, then you don't get in any trouble. Like, unless your house isn't up to code. So you better be insured also. But, yeah, it's, just make sure I don't fucking hit anything. And I said, look, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to hit anyway. But I thought with my brother, Mark, I thought this neighbor sounds like a fucking asshole. And this lady was nice. And because of this fucking neighbor, he's telling her, like, oh, make sure he shows you his insurance cards. It's not how it fucking works, man. It's not like car insurance where you have to show your slip to the fucking cops, man. Like, the company just insures you and you're just insured. Like, show me your life insurance then. So anyway, we thought that we were going to have a real problem with this guy, but the initial lady was nice. So, we were just going to do the job for her. So we show up the day we're supposed to work, last Friday, and very, very snowy. It took us almost 2 hours to get there. It should have taken only one, but there was traffic and there was snow. There was needless traffic, so it took an extra hour. But we got there and we did the entire job. And before we started, the neighbor that I was leery of meeting, I thought, oh, I'm not going to like this guy. And I told Mark, if we can get out of doing the job for the neighbor, like, just tell him we don't have room to take the branches or something, that'd be perfect. Because I'll go away with half the money and not have to fucking get dicked around, I just don't want to do it. Like, they need me and not vice versa. So let's walk away if we feel like it. So he says, done. But as soon as we showed up, the neighbor pulls up. And, I met him and he was pretty nice. And I explained to him exactly the branches that I was going to cut on his tree. And he says, yeah. He says, I don't care. He says, just don't hit anything. And he says, I'm sure you're going to do a good job. And he says, I'm going to leave the money with the neighbor and I'm going to be in and out all day, but the neighbor's going to pay you whenever you're done. So I said, okay, cool. So we stuck around to do it because those are ideal circumstances. None of this, oh, can you go back up and get this or get that? No. He's not even there. When we say we're done, we're done. Okay, pay us. Beautiful. So we trimmed both trees and a bunch of shit happened. Both trees were covered in ice. I had a lot of issues climbing the first one, and the second one had not one, but it had two power lines going across it on the way up. So as I was climbing up, I had to step over the power lines twice. Same thing coming down. And I have ropes and shit that are wrapped around the tree, and I have to thread those over and under the lines, and they all have metal hooks at the end. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. It's a fucking pain in the ass. So, we finished the job, and the lady's looking at us out the window and she's waving, and then she comes out in the yard and she looks and she says, okay, good work. And we're cleaning up everything. And the lady comes outside and she says, yeah, so she says, you didn't do anything. I said, what do you mean I didn't do anything? And she says, you told me that you're going to cut the tree down and leave it up to 30 feet. I said, is that what you understood? She says, yeah. I say, okay, so you thought I was going to climb the tree up to 30 feet and then just fucking cut half of the tree off, cut the top 70 feet off the fucking tree? She says, yeah. She says, why didn't you do that? I said, well, fuck, man. I said, I wouldn't do that, even if that's what you asked me to do. So the other reason is because nobody does that. Never, ever, ever. That's like the worst fucking thing to do. If I do that, I'm going to kill the tree and it's going to fall on your house for sure. So then she started arguing with me that like I ripped her off. I said, I didn't rip you off. I gave your tree a standard trimming. I gave the neighbors a standard trimming. We got rid of all the branches that, you know, could have been of any concern to you. The tree is not going to need any maintenance for a long time, and it's beautiful now. It can do its thing. You're in no danger. And, you know, doing what you want me to do is going to be 10 times the amount of work. It's going to cost more money, and it's going to kill the tree, and then the tree is definitely going to fall on your house. So again, back and forth arguing, and then I said, well, I turned it around on her. I said, and look, you know what I don't like is that you watch me and my brother do the entire job, and you watch us and you come outside and you wave, and then you went back in and you had some hot cocoa, and you wait until we climb both trees and we pack up all our things, and then, you know, you try to guilt trip us into going back up the tree and telling us that like we ripped you off and didn't do a good job, when really you're just trying to fucking get us to do more work. And if you want us to do more work, you should have just fucking asked, and we would have explained to you like the steps necessary. Like the way that you want the tree cut is not right. It's gonna fucking hurt the tree. It's bad. You know, no one in good conscience will do anything like that. But don't tell me that I misled you, and don't wait till the end when it's time to get paid. And so she says, anyway, I want you to get this branch. I said, no, I'm not doing anything for you. I'm not doing anything else. And I said, there's nothing else to do. And I said, look, okay, I did this like gratuitously just to make her happy. But there was one tiny branch that was kind of coming close to her chimney. Well, it wasn't tiny. It was around 20 feet long, but it wasn't very thick. And she wanted me to take off like another section of the tree. And I said, no. And I said, look, I'll get that one branch, but I know that the neighbor gave you the money for his tree. So I'll get that one branch, but before I do anything, I said, I want $500. I want the money that you owe me. And she says, oh, I have it. Don't worry. I said, I'm not worried that you have it. I said, I want it in my hand. That's the whole point. And she says, okay, I'm going to go in and get it. She says, I'll be right out. So she goes inside. And no, she doesn't go get it and come right out. She goes inside and then she calls her husband. And she starts fucking complaining to her husband that, you know, we're trying to swindle her or whatever. Or we did a bad job. I don't know. Fuck. And the husband, and I'm just standing outside with my arms crossed. I'm not doing fuck all. So as soon as she comes out and she has money in her hand, she like gives it to me. I don't say anything. I put my spikes on. I go back up the tree. I cut that one branch. It falls down. Yeah, 500. Yeah, it falls. Yeah, the thing falls down and it smashes her chimney, but it doesn't do any damage. And she's watching the whole thing. And I just look at her. I'm like, is that okay? So she shrugs and she goes back inside. And then the other neighbor comes home just as we're about to leave. And I really hope that like we could leave before having to deal with him. But he comes home right as we're about to leave. And I'm like, oh, here the fuck we go again. And he takes one look at his tree and he's like, wow, you guys did a fucking awesome job. He's like, that's fucking amazing, man. He's like, give me your card. I'm going to give it to my friends. And it's like, all right, thank you. See, I was wrong. I was wrong about each of the customers at first. But silver lining, like if we had not have done the job for the neighbor, I mean, we would have received only half as much money and it would have ended on a really sour note. Because even though you know you did the right thing, you know, a lot of the time you can almost, you want to give them benefit of the doubt when they start criticizing your work. You want to think, well, what are they talking about? Is there any basis for what they're saying right now? Because I want to be objective. I want to be fair. I want to do a good job. I don't want to rip people off. I don't want people to give me money for me having done nothing. I like doing what I do. Like I really like doing what I do. And I like the interaction and exchange that takes place after having done a good job and gone above and beyond. And the customer appreciates it, and it shows when they give you more money. If you vet your customers properly, even if you undercharge them, a lot of the time they'll give you extra, and they'll give you a lot extra. Mark and I did a job 2 weeks ago, and the guy gave us $100 extra. It's not huge, but man, it's good. For a couple of hours work, $100, like it's good. Um, there's always little things here and there, but another one that comes to mind is around a month ago, I had a very easy job, very easy to do. It wasn't even tree related, but it was for a lady that I had done a tree job for, and she had no one else to call. And she asked if she could call me and waste my time type of deal. And I said, ma'am, for you, it's never a waste of time. And it was basically, I had 10 bags of earth at my old house, and she needed 10 bags of earth. So it was to drive 10 bags of earth to her house, empty it out on her property, and to pull out 5 patio stones from the grass and take them home. And that's all I did. And she asked me how much I wanted, and I told her, I don't know, say $100. And she gave me $250. And like, yo, now you're speaking my language, lady. Call me anytime and I'll drop whatever I'm doing, unless that person is willing to pay me more than you're willing to pay me. And that's fucking unlikely. But that's the fucking beauty of capitalism. It makes me so fucking horny. And once I've walked away from many jobs, but once Mark and my dad came to do a job with me, I know it's to drop this fucking massive tree, and we decided at the last minute that we weren't going to do it because it was like, too dangerous and beyond what we were equipped to do at the time. So as I was thinking this, before calling the customer to tell the customer that we could not do the job, I had gotten a call the day before from a new potential customer that wanted to have a few trees trimmed or taken down. So before calling the old customer back, I called a new customer. I locked down my estimate, and then I canceled the old one. And then right after, I went and did the estimate, and I got the job. So it's good. You don't even need to let go of the bird in your hand before you catch the other one. If you work for yourself, you can at first you have a tough choice between the jobs that you get, because a lot of them are going to be very hard and they're not going to pay that much compared to what you could be making, but the pay is still good. Even on my shittiest jobs, like I still made okay if you compare it to other jobs that I've done. The worst amount of money that I ever made in tree work was because a customer fucking ripped me off, and I worked 4 days for $400, and that was the worst. And it was pretty bad. Yeah, I know it could be worse. It could have been for free. And the last day I worked 12 hours. But yeah, it was supposed to be a 1-day job for $650. And the motherfucker extended it to 4 days. Yeah, because he just kept he kept adding to the job, and he kept fucking adding obstacles, knowingly or unknowingly, and to make me fucking go around, that ended up making the job take way more time. And the other thing too is that this guy was butthurt that I could have done a $600 job in 1 day. I could have done it in half a day because he had never made that kind of money. So he tries to make it. He was comparing my job to Unistone. And I said, I'm going home. It's been 12 hours, And he says, oh, when I did Unistone, I used to work for 14 hours. Yeah, well, this isn't Unistone. So use some fucking patio stones to cut down your tree then, motherfucker. Mr. fucking Unistone genius then. Christ, man. And yeah, so he figured that, because when he did Unistone 10 years ago, it used to take him a week to make $600, that he wasn't comfortable giving that money to anyone for less than a week's worth of work. And a lot of people think like this. The worst fucking customers I've ever fucking had are male middle-aged engineers. And they think they're so fucking smart, and they think they're so fucking important. It must be hell to work with these fucking guys. And I know I've worked with them in the past, not doing tree work, but when I was a welder. They come up to you with retarded plans that can never work because they've never spent a day in the fucking field and they expect you to do something that can't be done. And they just stare at you with a fucking stupid look on their fucking face when you explain to them why it can't be done. And if they had any fucking real world experience, they would understand. And like these guys, these customers I get that are engineers, and yeah, you know how I can tell? Because they always fucking tell me. And they all say the same thing. They all say, I would do it myself if I had a chainsaw. And I respond in the same way. I say, you should buy a chainsaw then, because that'll be cheaper than the price I'm going to charge you. And then they respond the same way. They say, why? It's just one cut. And then I respond the same way. It's not one cut. It's 100 feet in the fucking air. It's a pain in the ass to get to. And that limb that you want cut, it's like 50 fucking feet long and it branches off into 12 different directions. And it's not only going to fall on your house, your car, the power lines, the swimming pool. It's not just one cut. All right? Like Mr. fucking engineer. Yeah, man. So go engineer the fucking limb out of the tree then, you fucking genius. Fuck. Like one guy, the second job I ever did, it was this fucking massive tree. I was leaning over a tiny shithole of a house. And the guy asked me how much to take it down. And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know how to do this, but I would charge probably $3,000. And then he lied to me and he told me that a guy told him he could do it for 200, but that he wasn't insured to work in that area or some shit like that. So he was willing to pay me $200 to do the same thing. And I kept telling him no. I'm like, yo, you're fucking crazy. No one's going to do that. I'm like, go, call him then. And he's like, well, I called him, but he doesn't answer. I'm like, yo, I wonder why. Fuck. And anyway, like I went up there to like explain to this customer why I wouldn't do his job and like why I couldn't do it and like why everything was wrong. And he says, well, what are you worried about? I said, A, I'm worried about dying. And B, I'm worried about smashing the house. And he told me to use my insurance. Those were his exact words. Use your insurance. Smash my house and use your insurance. Yo, you're willing to pay me $200 to climb a tree? It's like 100 feet tall. And you want me to make it fall on your house and my insurance to pay for a new house for you. And what do I get out of all this? I get $200. And I have to work for like fucking 12 hours for that $200. Like, yeah, I don't think so. So he asked me, he says, what can you do for $200? So I pointed to like a couple of branches. I'm like, oh, I can clear those out of the way. And he's like, all right, done. And I did that for him. And at the end of the day, well, it was raining all fucking day. It started to rain. It was pouring rain. And at the end of the day, he says, are you going to come back next week and finish the rest of the big tree? I said, no. And he says, come on, I'll give you an extra $200. That's $200 more than you wanted. I said, no, it's not. It's like fucking $2,800 less than I wanted. Yeah, they want free labor, bro, not even cheap. So I said, no, I'm not coming back next week. I'm like, give me my $200. I'm going to go home. And he says, look, he says, I'll give you $100 and then I'll pay you $200 for the rest of the job next week. And I'll give you the other 100 next week. And I was like, no, man. I'm like, pay me right now. Pay me right fucking now. Pay me right now. Or this fucking tree is going to fucking fall on your house right now. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's going to fucking fall on it right fucking now. I'm like, you want to try to take the chainsaw out of my hand? Just fucking try it. And he's like, all right, all right, all right. He's like, I'll give you $200, but you're coming back next week, right? I'm like, I'm not fucking coming back next week. Like, stop fucking asking me that. Stop fucking patronizing me. Give me my fucking money now. And he paid me. You know, he did, you know, luckily. And I went home after. It was fucking frozen. Yeah, it was rough, man. But the cool thing was that there was a lot of work to do that day. And like, I was left to my own devices. Our very first job, you know, the customers were watching. It was in front of the house. There was another company working across the street and they were watching us. And it's like all eyes were on us and everything had to be perfect. This second job, man, I was fucking pissed off. And this is very bad advice, but when my frustration overlaps my fear or inexperience, that's when I do my best work. Like, oh, is this the right way or is this not the? It's like, fuck it, I'm mad. Let's just fucking do it and like we get it done. And yeah, this is fucking terrible. It's terrible advice, but it was like that all day at that place. And I stopped putting like the tree work up on a pedestal and thinking like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this sort of work, or I have to like keep everything clean and shiny. I went from thinking like that to no, 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 I'm the fucking man and I'm here to fucking get shit done. And people call me when they have something fucking impossible to do. They call me, and it really fucking set in then. And I learned to do a lot of stuff that day, a lot of like cutting techniques and stuff because no one was fucking watching me. So I basically had all day to fucking practice whatever the fuck I wanted. And like in that sense, it was cool. It was really cool. It left the taste that it left in my mouth, it was still sweeter than it was sour. But that dude, man, that other guy that ended up paying me $400 for 4 days of work, like I wanted to fucking kill that guy. Fuck. I wanted to kill this guy. That's the guy that I dumped a fucking trailer load of branches in his driveway, like about a month after I fucking worked for him. I have more to dump there too. I might even just cut the trees down too that I started to trim because it's illegal to touch those trees. Yeah, but you know, he'll get in trouble for it. Yeah, we'll see. And and anyone that's gonna say revenge isn't worth it, oh, it totally is. Fuck. Just don't get caught. Don't get caught, or when you're getting your revenge, make sure that it's something legal. You know, I'm allowed to undo work that I did. You pay me money to fucking cut down trees and clean them up, and then you don't want to pay, then I'm gonna fucking undo the work I did, and I'm gonna put the fucking mess that I cleaned up back in your fucking driveway. You can do whatever you want. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be and I've even texted customers that have texted me. They're like, "Oh, when can you come do the job?" I said, "Oh, I'll be there in the next few days." And they say, "Oh yeah, make sure you come as soon as possible or something because I don't have all day to wait." Yeah, and I text them back. I'm like, "Look, motherfucker, yeah, don't ever fucking talk to me like that. Like you just fucking lost your fucking tree guy." Yeah, and then I block them. Yeah, and then I hope they fucking tell their stupid friends like, "Yo, be careful how you talk to this guy because if you're rude to him or if he thinks you're being rude to him, he's just going to block you and he's not going to show up and he's not going to work for you." Great. And then people say, "Yeah, but you're not going to get every customer." I don't want every customer. I don't want the dipshit fucking lowballing assholes that want to exploit you and treat you like shit. I don't want those ones. I have one last thing I'll say before I sign off for today and get ready to start my day. Um, if you have a business, a young business, okay, like mine, like less than a year old, and you connect it to your personal phone line, I would recommend never, ever, ever answering the phone. Okay? Have a message on your phone for your business. Don't say like, "Hi, this is Greg and like so and so's tree service." No, no, no. And I only have one phone for now, so I'm taking both calls and hey, peace, bro. Like job bless. No, it's have a business message on your phone and have the message explain that you've reached such and such company. I can't take your call right now because I'm either on the job or already on two lines, which is why it went straight to voicemail. But leave your number, a brief message, and I'll get back to you at the end of my workday. And that's it, man. That's the fucking key. For me, it's been such a great fucking screening process. And if they don't leave a message, fuck them. Fuck them. And here also we have French and English customers, but I hardly have any French customers because I have an English message. And I'm glad for it. I'm fucking fed up of working for Peppers. And if you don't fucking speak English and you don't want to leave a message in English because you think it insults your quote unquote right to fucking have everyone serve you in French, then fuck you. I don't want to fucking work for you. I'll gladly work in French. I'm bilingual. Hey, what's up, Grady Bake Gill? But yeah, don't force me to fucking speak in another language or to think in another language. So that's what my outgoing message says. If somebody calls my phone, it says, "You've reached Oliver's tree service." If you're hearing this message, I'm either in a tree or in the hospital, and tree work is dangerous. So I'm also really busy. So please leave a message, be patient, and I'll call you back. And that's it. And a lot of people don't like this message. They get so fucking mad at the message that they decide just not to leave one because they're like, who the fuck is this guy? And good, to hell with them. I don't fucking want their business. And the others, man, so many people comment on how funny it is, or how original they think it is. And it's just a fucking stupid message, but it's the truth. And they're like, what'd you think of that? And I think, oh, well, it's because fucking I got heat stroke a month ago and 2 weeks ago I got stitches. So it's actually true. And when I go give the estimate, I like show them my stitches or whatever. And it makes them not doubt your legitimacy. Even if they don't think you're the best, as long as they see that you have experience and that you're not a fucking idiot, then you have a good chance of getting hired. So yeah, outgoing message, and never answer your phone. Screen all your fucking calls unless it's a friend calling you. Because or texting or fucking whatever. I'm not going to tell you how to fucking deal with those relationships, but for a business, like it's worked out really well for me. I screen every single call, always too busy to answer. And even if you have to call back the next day, even if you don't call back that day, because the only reason you can answer the phone when it rings is if you're not busy. And if you call me during a day, I'm always busy, always working. Even if I'm not, they don't know that. They think I am. So you're always fucking busy. So yeah, don't make them wait a month, but call back the next day, and always at the end of the workday. Always at the end of the workday. And I found the best time to call back is between like 7 and 7:45 at night. After 8, I consider that too late because I don't like when people call me after 8, because sometimes I get up at like fucking, I don't know. Today I got up at 11 last night, and it's like 6 a.m. now because I was tired. I went to bed early anyway. It's a long story, but it's cool, man. Get up and go to bed when I want. And, I rarely sleep in, but if I have to, then I will. And yeah, so screen all the calls for your business, especially if you don't have a fucking receptionist or if you don't plan on having one. And the other thing too, yeah, always call back after business hours, especially if you're doing manual labor, and it's a known fact that, let's say you don't have a receptionist or something like that, because you should not have time to fucking talk on the phone during the day when you're fucking busy. And I've tried, man. Well, I've tried. Like, I used to handle all my business like on my lunch break and shit while I was at work and like go, go, go. But it's not good, man. You suffer. Like, you have to balance all three things, like your health, your work, and like your fucking relationships, like with other people. Like if you neglect one of those things, then you tend to overcompensate with the other two. That's from who said that? I think that's some fucking some mystery quote right there. The quote unquote father of PUA. But I think he's right. I think successful life is a balance. Yeah, a secretary would be useful. Yo, dude, I tried to fucking hire a girl just to teach her to do estimates because she was fucking hot. And I would just like tell her to fucking, highball the customers. It didn't even matter that she didn't know anything about trees, but she fucking bitched out and took some job in HR instead. But whatever. I think that would be a good idea. But yeah, now we'll never know. Well, we might, but just not with that one. All right, guys. Well, hour and 15 minutes in. Sorry to the guys that showed up a little bit later, like Gravy Bait Gill, but I have to end this now because my day is about to start. But thanks for stopping by. And in case you guys don't know, I will be going live every morning this week, Monday to Friday, at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know it's not prime time, but I have a little window to fill, especially this week. So I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see how it works and see how people respond to it and if they like it. And I'm pretty sure that it's something that I'm going to keep doing. Whether it's every day or at the same time, I'm not sure, but definitely keep you guys all posted. So thank you all for stopping by. Jorn Vershoor, Forest Arrow MGTOW, Gravy Bait Gill, anyone else in the chat that I can't see right now. But yeah, man, really appreciate it. And it's very cool to interact with you guys. So I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Take care, brothers.